Have you ever found yourself lying awake at 3 a.m., replaying a conversation from 3 years ago? Dissecting every look, word, and heavy silence, you convince yourself that a simple mistake defines who you are. This is a just overthinking. It is your mind turning its highest capability into its worst enemy. The weight you carry isn't a sign of weakness. It is often the heavy price of an analytical mind. You think deeply because you care deeply, anticipating problems because your brain wants to protect you. But what happens when that protection becomes a prison, holding you hostage? We tend to view this constant mental loop as a personal flaw, telling ourselves to just stop thinking so much, as if turning off the mind were as simple as flipping a light switch. Science tells a very different story. This mental exhaustion is a neurobiological mechanism gone into overdrive. In 2018, a Harvard University study used functional magnetic resonance imaging to examine the brains of chronic overthinkers. Researchers discovered that individuals with high analytical intelligence often exhibit a hyperactive default mode network DMN. The DMN is the brain network that activates when you are not focused on the outside world, the seat of daydreaming, self-reflection, and memories. In a balanced brain, it acts as a creative sanctuary. But for chronic overthinkers, the DMN gets stuck in a feedback loop. Your brain's prefrontal cortex, responsible for problem solving, constantly sends distress signals to your amygdala, the emotional fear center. Your brain is literally trying to solve an emotional feeling as if it were a math equation. But feelings cannot be calculated or forced into perfect variables. When you try to analyze a feeling, you enter what psychologists call co-rumination. Instead of finding answers, you only deepen the groove of the worry. This groove becomes a distorted lens through which you view your entire worth. When you walk into a room, you might instantly feel like everyone else belongs except you. Or look at your achievements and think, I was just lucky. Next time they will find out I am a fraud. This is not the truth of who you are, but a cognitive illusion. Your brain is actively tricking you in a 2016 study conducted at Yale University. Researchers mapping the neural pathways of self-evaluation found that when we experience self-doubt, the medial prefrontal cortex becomes hyperreactive. It filters out positive experiences and highlights only perceived flaws. Think of it as a broken security camera that ignores the beautiful landscape to record only the shadows, triggering the alarm for things that pose no threat. Why does it do this? To your primitive brain, blending in and avoiding failure was a matter of survival. Being rejected by the tribe meant death. Thus, your brain would rather make you feel small and safe than let you stand out and risk failure. Your inferiority is not a reflection of your capacity, but a survival mechanism that forgot to adapt to the modern world. You are treating a glitch in the system as a verdict on your soul. How do we break this cycle? In 2007, a landmark study led by Dr. Norman Farb at the University of Toronto revealed that we have two distinct ways of interacting with the world: the narrative network and the experiential network. The narrative network is where your overthinking lives. It plans, judges, and creates the story of your flaws. Conversely, the experiential network operates entirely in the present moment, experiencing reality without judgment, like feeling the warmth of a cup or hearing the rain. Dr. Farb discovered these two networks work like a seesaw. When one goes up, the other must go down. When you actively choose to step into the experiential network by shifting your posture, speaking at a calmer pace, or focusing on a physical sensation, the hyperactive overthinking in your narrative network instantly begins to quiet down. Researchers at Columbia University back this up. Small physical changes send immediate feedback to your emotional center that you are safe, drastically reducing anxiety. You do not need to fight your thoughts or wait until you feel confident to act like you belong. By noticing the weight of your feet on the floor or the natural rhythm of your breath, you show your brain that you are no longer in danger. You are grounded and allowed to take up space. How many times have you let a single thought rewrite your entire history, forgetting the lives you have touched and the obstacles you have crossed? Your mind highlights the gaps but ignores the foundation you have built. We often believe that to heal, we must fix everything that is broken about us. But what if you are simply hyper-aware, and this deep analytical capacity was never meant to be a weapon against your soul? In 2003, Dr. Kristin Neff at the University of Texas conducted a pioneering study on self-compassion. She discovered that people who practice self-compassion do not have fewer failures, or they simply do not turn those failures into an identity. When they make a mistake, they say, I failed at this task, and that is a normal part of being human rather than I am a failure. This shift in language deactivates your brain's threat detection system. You begin to see your flaws not as a permanent identity, but as temporary human experiences. You are allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. Why do we demand perfection from a heart that is only trying its best to survive? Every time you step into a social setting, your brain amplifies your insecurities through what psychologists call the spotlight effect. A famous 2000 study at Cornell University by Dr. Thomas Gilovich demonstrated this clearly. Researchers had students wear an embarrassing t-shirt into a room full of peers. While the students estimated that at least half of the people would notice the shirt, in reality only about 20% did. Your mind acts like a magnifying glass for your mistakes, convincing you that everyone sees what you see. But people are entirely caught up in their own spotlights, worrying about their own flaws. When you realize that your perceived inferiority is largely an internal projection, You stop carrying the weight of an audience that does not exist. To drop the script means to realize that your mind has been playing a trick on you, using your deep intelligence to build walls instead of bridges. In a 2012 study from Stanford University on cognitive reappraisal, researchers found that when individuals consciously reframe their negative self-talk, acknowledging it as just a passing thought rather than denying it, the amygdala's fear response drops dramatically. The brain moves from panic to peace. Your worth is not a score that changes with every mistake. It is a constant truth that has been with you since birth. Every time that voice tells you that you aren't enough, look at it with gentle curiosity, like a frightened child who is afraid of the dark. You wouldn't yell at a child for being scared, so why yell at yourself? We often disconnect from our worth when we compare our messy inside with everyone else's curated outside. We see our own chaotic thoughts but only see the polished, or calm exterior of others. It is an unfair comparison of our behind-the-scenes footage with their highlight reel. What if your flaws are just the markers of your humanity? Every scar and moment of self-doubt is a testament to your resilience, not a design flaw. Your self-doubt is just your deep care disguised as fear. If we strip away the fear, you are left with a profound capacity to learn, adapt, and evolve. You are not defined by the thoughts that pass through your mind, just as the sky is not defined by the clouds that drift across it. You are the sky. The thoughts are just the weather. In a 2015 study from the University of Pennsylvania, researchers found that people who score high in empathy and self-reflection also possess a greater capacity for creative problem-solving and deep emotional connection. Your brain isn't broken. It is just highly sensitive. When you feel that old wave of inferiority rising, don't push it away or let it anchor you. Just observe it and say, there is that familiar fear again. My brain is trying to protect me. Thank you, but I am safe right now. By becoming the observer rather than the victim, you hold the space for your own healing. When we hold ourselves to impossible standards, we think harshness forces growth, but science proves the exact opposite. In a neuroimaging study at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, researchers found that long-term self-criticism actually impairs the brain's ability to learn from mistakes, freezing the neural pathways needed for adaptation every time you feel the sting of inadequacy. Remember that it is just an old alarm system ringing in an empty house. When you sit with the alarm instead of running, the brain realizes the danger is not real. This is the foundation of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to structurally change and adapt based on experience. In 2011, a groundbreaking study led by Dr. Sara Lazar at Harvard University showed that just 8 weeks of mindfulness and self-acceptance practice could physically alter the brain. Using MRI scans, researchers observed a measurable decrease in gray matter density within the amygdala, while the prefrontal cortex, responsible for emotional regulation, grew thicker. Your brain is a living organ that responds to how you treat it. By holding your flaws with kindness, you physically reshape your neural architecture, shrinking the fear and strengthening the peace. This process of reshaping your brain is not about achieving sudden, absolute confidence, but about building a quiet, daily alliance with yourself. Just like learning to walk or speak a new language, your brain needs repetition and the safety to make mistakes. When you actively choose to step away from the narrative of inferiority, you are laying down a single brick for a completely new foundation. In psychology, there is a concept known as the Pratfall effect, studied extensively at the University of California. Researchers found that highly competent individuals who occasionally make mistakes are actually perceived as far more likable and relatable than those who appear flawless. Your imperfections do not distance you from others. They make you human, reachable, and real. To truly step into this freedom, we must change how we speak to ourselves in quiet moments. In 2014, a study led by Dr. Ethan Kross at the University of Michigan explored the power of distant self-talk. Researchers discovered that when individuals refer to themselves by their own name or use third-person pronouns during times of stress, a profound shift occurs. Instead of asking, "Why am I failing?" switching to "Why is your name feeling this way?" immediately reduces activity in the brain's emotional distress networks. By shifting the language, you create a healthy psychological distance, observing the storm from a safe window rather than being trapped inside it. You begin to treat yourself not as a problem to be solved, but as a person to be cared for. True self-worth is not a building you construct. It is the solid ground you are already standing on. It is time to stop hiding, stop apologizing, and start trusting the ground beneath your feet. How will you choose to speak to yourself tomorrow morning? What is one small piece of grace you can grant yourself right now? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your journey might just be the exact light someone else needs to find their way out of the dark. Thank you for being here with us. This is a place that offers insights to make life less suffocating and stays beside the emotions you cannot share with anyone.